We finished our prayers. It's time for us to do our little review. And what's your first name? Madeline? Okay, Madeline promised while we were saying the rosary that she would not eat the candy bars. And she didn't, did you? Okay, so we have candy bars to, not even a piece. Good girl, that's the way. Okay, all right, so we're going to talk about two different things tonight, boys and girls, in our review. The first that we're going to talk about is the presence of Jesus with us. And as we do so, like as always, I'll walk around with the candy, and you got a right answer, you get a candy bar for that. Okay? All right, so let's begin a little bit about the real presence, okay? All right. Who comes to you when you receive communion? Who comes to you when you do that? Yeah, okay, what's his first name? Very good, okay, good, all right. And when we celebrate Mass, what does the priest say that makes the bread and wine the body and blood of Jesus? What does he say over the bread? What does he say over the bread? Okay, eat a bit. Why? Because this, very good. This is my body. Very good. Okay. And what does he say over the wine? What does he say over the wine? What does he say? This is my blood. Very good. Okay. So that when we receive communion, it's really Jesus coming to us, isn't it? Okay? Now, once we finish communion, but let's back up a little bit. When we get ready for communion, what thing do we do to show that this isn't just plain old ordinary food? What do we do before we come to Mass to get ready to receive communion? What do we do? Very good. You know what you call that? There's that one four-letter word that starts with an F. Very good, excellent, all right. So we fast for an hour, to show that. When I was a little boy, you had to fast from midnight the night before. So if you didn't go to Mass till noon, that means you didn't eat until after the noon Mass. What do you think happened to a lot of boys and girls? What do you think happened to them? It felt like it, didn't it? Yes, it did. Yes, yeah. It felt like they died. Okay, all right. Do you think they got sick and passed out? Yeah, they did. Very good. Okay, all right. Okay, so to make it easier for people to receive Jesus, then the church changed that to 1 hour before. Okay, all right. Now, let's talk about, does anybody know the big word that we use that tells us that the bread and wine become the body and blood of Jesus? Does anybody know that big word? Do you know it? I am impressed. Very good. Excellent. Transubstantiation means that what was bread is no longer there. Now it's the body of Jesus. Okay? Excellent. All right. Okay. All right. What do you think Jesus decided to use bread? Why do you think he decided to use bread? It's kind of a hard question. Why did he decide to use bread? Okay, because bread is one of the oldest forms of food that we have. So Jesus wanted to show that he was going to be the bread. Okay, now, as he is, okay, we sometimes talk to him about being the bread. What do we call him? The bread of what? What do we call him? The bread of what? Excellent. Boy, you guys did your homework. Excellent. Very good. All right. Okay. All right. Now, let's also talk a little bit about the corporal works of mercy. Okay? Can anybody name a corporal work of mercy for me? You guys are studying too much. Very good. Can you name one for me? To feed the hungry. Very good. Okay. All right. And when we feed people, how does Jesus look at that? When we take care of people who are in need, how does Jesus look at that? Does anybody know? I don't think this was in your lesson. How does he look at that when we feed someone who needs food, or we give drink to someone, or we clothe them? What does he say? Whatever you did to the least of my brothers, what's the rest of that? Whatever you did to the least of my brothers, very good, you do to me. So the corporal works of mercy, when we do those are a lot of ways that we show Jesus that we really love him. So we show him. We don't just say it. We show him in the acts of kindness that we do to one another. And so he teaches us that these works of mercy are extremely important. Now, there's some other works of mercy that are just as important. Now, we call those that we were just talking about the corporal works of mercy. What's the other kind? What's the other kind? Remember? There's corporal works of mercy, and there's... Very good, you guys. Holy cow, we'll give all of our candy away. My goodness, okay. The spiritual works of mercy. Now, who can tell me a spiritual work of mercy? Okay, these are harder to do. Let's see, we haven't gone over on this side too much. Let's go up here. Okay, all right, give me a spiritual work of mercy. Admonish the sinner. What does that mean? Okay, yeah, so very gently you say, if your brother or sister is not doing something or not behaving, you can say, listen, very gently, knock it off. Okay? All right. And you're encouraging them to do good. All right? Okay. Now, answer me this. If we do spiritual works of mercy, is that the same as doing a corporal work of mercy? So in other words, if we admonish the sinner or we help somebody to know their faith and so on, would Jesus say the same thing? What you did to them, you did to me? Would he say that or not? Yes or no? Would he say that or not? Would he say that? No, he wouldn't say that. If I helped you to learn about your faith, would Jesus say, whatever you did to help you, you did to me? Would he say that? Yeah, he would, okay? So the spiritual works of mercy are just as important as well. And I think I gave away all my candy. My goodness, you guys. All right. I'm going to have to come up with tougher questions. All right? Okay. All right, so anyway, you guys keep up the excellent work. That's what's really fun, when I can just ask questions and boy, those answers are there just like that, okay? And that goes for mom and dad as well. So if you were whispering answers, good for you. And if you knew the answers, even better, okay? So we always want to keep doing that, all right? Okay, do we have announcements to be made? And then we have a special visitor tonight that's come to see us, okay? All right, so I'm going to give my microphone away. You're all set.
Okay, so we have a few announcements before we get started. For those of you that are in 7th grade, if you didn't check in with Mrs. Sarah over here, she has the attendance sheet, so make sure you do that before the end of the evening. Our 8th grade class is meeting currently, so if you're one of the 8th graders, make sure you run over to class. Let's see here. All right, so confession. We did plan to have confession this upcoming Saturday. So Saturday, December 6th, it's going to start at 10 a.m. So I sent an email out to everyone. Just a show of hands, did everybody receive that email? Or anybody get that? Okay. All right, good. It's just good for me to know that you guys are receiving those. All right. So confession this Saturday. We also have we have an altar server sign-up sheet right now. We're receiving new people for altar servers. I have a stack of the sign-up sheets. If you're interested in having one of your children be an altar server, they should be in 3rd grade or older. If they would like to be one of the altar servers, I will put this stack of altar server sheets in the back, and if you could just fill that out and drop it in the homework bin, I'll go through that and grab those. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Part of your home lesson packets that you're getting this month, you will be receiving a liturgical calendar. I have one right here. Everyone will be receiving one of these liturgical calendars. And it's a really great thing, just with the new liturgical year starting yesterday. A good way for you guys to follow along in the liturgical year. So there's directions in your packet that kind of go along with how to use the liturgical calendar, so that you guys can color different parts of it as the Sundays go along. And there's also other really great suggestions that the Family Formation Program has for you. So just want to encourage you guys to utilize that. As Father Michael said earlier, we do have a special guest here tonight for all of you, the boys and girls here. And I think you might know who it is. He's got a big beard, all right? I know he's really excited to meet you guys. Let me go see if he's back here. Hold on just a second. Hold on.
Introduce myself. I am Nicholas, Bishop of Myra. I was born a very long time ago in the small town of Patara in a country now known as Turkey. When I was a young child, my mother told me how she had prayed to Jesus for the gift of a child. And when I was born, she was so grateful, she promised to honor him for all time. I remember that distinctly and promised to do the same myself. Well, not long after that, my dear friends, my mother and father passed away. Now, I don't want you to be saddened by this, for I knew they were in a better place. And I wanted to honor Jesus the best way I could. And now that meant that I could become a priest. Oh, but to become a priest, I would have to travel to another town. Patara was too small to teach people to be priests. No, I must go to the larger town of Myra, where there was a cathedral. Well, it was a very long journey, my dear friends. And when I arrived there, it was too late at night, and the doors to the church were closed. And so I just slept right there on the steps of the church itself. Well, unbeknownst to me, that very night, the elders of the town had a vision. And in this vision, they were told that the first man to come through the doors of the cathedral the very next day should be made bishop of all Myra. When I awoke, the doors were open, so I went right through. And there were the elders waiting for me. And they said, "What is your name?" And I said, "Nicholas of Patara." They said, "No. From now on, you shall be known as Bishop Nicholas of Myra." Oh, what a magnificent honor to be a boy bishop at such a young age. I promised them that I would do the best I could to honor Jesus in all ways and prove that I was the perfect decision to be the next Bishop of Myra. So I went about it by showing others how to live, setting a good example and doing good deeds, expecting nothing in return. Well, one day I found out there was a man within the town who had lost his wife and all his money. He had 3 daughters, and the eldest wanted to marry. But he had no money to give with her in marriage. So he thought perhaps what he should do is sell her into slavery, use that money for the weddings of the other 2 daughters. The night before this was to occur, I found out about it. And so here's what I did. I went to my room, and I took some of my very own money, tied it up in a handkerchief like a nice little ball, and waited for nightfall. When I was certain that all were sound asleep, I snuck off to the man's house, sight unseen by any, and I threw the money in the window, and I ran off. The next morning, the man awoke and found the money. Instead of selling his daughter into slavery, he used that money for her wedding. He ran throughout the town, trying to find out who had done this good deed, and no one would lay claim to it. Not even me, Bishop Nicholas of Myra. However, I did say to the man that this was a wonderful deed, and he should be inspired to do the same thing. Good deeds for others, expect nothing in return. Some time goes by, and the second daughter wants to marry, and again he has no money. So again he thinks slavery is the only option for this girl. Well, the night before this is to occur, again I find out. So again I sneak to my room, take some of my own money, tie it up into a nice little ball, and wait for nightfall. And when I'm certain that all are sound asleep, I sneak off to the man's house, sight unseen, and throw the money through the window and run off. The next morning, the man awakes to find the money, and again, instead of selling that girl into slavery, he uses that money for her wedding. Well, this is an intelligent group, is it not? I think you know where the story is going, yes? The third daughter wants to marry, and again, he has no money, so again, he thinks slavery is the only option. Well, again, I take some of my very own money, tie it up into a handkerchief, and wait for nightfall. When I am certain that all are sound asleep, I sneak off to the man's house, sight unseen, making sure not to be seen by a single soul, and I throw the money through the window. And when I turn to run off, there's the man, and he says, "Bishop Nicholas, it was you. You were the one who saved my daughters from slavery. I must tell everyone in town. No, I will tell everyone in the world what a wonderful deed you have done." And I say, no, do not do that. I did not do these deeds looking for recognition. I did them out of the goodness of my heart to help my fellow man. If you really want to make me happy, you too will do good deeds, expecting nothing in return. And when the time is right, my dear friend, I will allow you to tell others of how I've inspired you to act like Jesus. Well, does this sound familiar? A man who sneaks around in the dead of night, sight unseen, leaving gifts for children? Yes! This is how my legend began, as the giver of gifts and protector of children. Oh, my dear friends, I must tell you I was a very busy bishop, inspiring the people of Myra and the surrounding areas to do good deeds just like our Lord and Savior. But even bishops need a vacation every now and then. And so I wanted to go on vacation myself. However, I didn't want to travel with the people of Patra or from Myra or any of the Christians in the area because, you see, I understand I'm a bishop. They would be uncomfortable. They would not be able to relax and, as you say, let their hair down. Well, I want everyone to be comfortable. So therefore, I did not travel on a Christian ship to where I wanted to vacation. Oh, I wanted to go to where Jesus grew. I wanted to walk in his steps in the Holy Land. So I waited for a ship to arrive that came from Egypt. The Egyptians were not Christians, so to them, my title of bishop was simply that, a title, a job description. And I set sail with them. Not long into the journey, my dear friends, a tremendous storm arose in the distance, and lo and behold, it caused the ship to toss and turn. Waves came over the side. All were convinced we were going to drown. When I said, "Pray with me to my Lord and Savior, you shall find salvation this very day." And they did just that. Well, as we prayed, the storm calmed down, the rain subsided, and the sea became as calm and gentle as a lamb. They proclaimed that they had been saved and were convinced it was due to our prayer. We went up on the deck and we saw something terrible. There, lying on the middle of the deck, was one of the sailors. He lay on the ground as though he were asleep, but all knew he was dead. For he must have been trying to save us, climbing to the top mast and undoing the sails. He must have slipped and fallen and broken his neck. I had to do something quickly, and so I thought. And then I went up to him, as though he were sleeping, and said, "Wake up! Wake up! No need to sleep, the storm is over!" And do you know what happened, my dear friends? He awoke as though he were sleeping and stood up. They all proclaimed it a miracle and insisted I must be a saint. And they asked me a favor. They said, "Could you become the patron saint of sailors?" And I obliged and converted them to Christianity right there on the spot. Well, my dear friends, this was fortunate for me. This was in the 300s, a little bit before your time, yes. And in my day, you couldn't communicate by cell phone or computer. There was no internet. No. The only way word spread was by sailor. And by becoming the patron saint of sailors, I therefore was spoken of every time they made safe passage from port to port. And people would ask, who is this Nicholas you pray to? And they would explain my life and my desire for all to do good. And that is how my legend began to spread across the world, inspiring others to do great deeds. I became a very popular saint, my dear friends. I even was given my own feast day, the Feast of St. Nicholas, which is shortly coming upon us next week. Yes, oh, people celebrate all around the world the Feast of St. Nicholas, but nowhere do they do it greater than right there in Myra. Which reminds me of a story. Yes, let me see. Yes, yes. Oh, my dear, would you like to help me? Yes, go right up there, magnificent, magnificent, yes, indeed. Oh, sir, can you help me as well? Oh, spectacular, come, yes, yes. Well, my dear friends, all the people of Myra would celebrate the Feast of St. Nicholas. Come over here, just like this lovely couple here. Yes. Now, let me tell you something about this couple. They were, how would you say, party animals. Yes, yes. Yes. They were always the first to arrive and the last to leave. They would sing and dance and have wonderful feasts with everyone in town. Isn't that right? Yes, 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 yes. Well, they were doing just that on the Feast of St. Nicholas when something terrible occurred. Pirates from the island of Crete came to the town and started stealing everything they could from all the houses, from the cathedral itself. They took every precious object they could. And when they arrived at this couple's house, they stole the most precious thing of all. They stole the couple's son, Lou. And they took Lou all the way to the island of Crete, where he was made cupbearer to the king of Crete. Yes, oh, let me see here. Your Majesty, if you please. No, yes, would you like to come help? No. There you go, sir, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of Crete, a round of applause. Yes. Now, as the cupbearer to the king of Crete, Lou would give the king whatever he desired to drink in a large goblet. Hold it forth like this. Give it to the king. Yes. Oh, Lou, bow before the king. Yes. Oh, don't spill the cup, Lou. Don't spill the cup. No. Yes. Very good. Yes. Oh, but this became his job as a slave to the king of Crete. However, wait right here. Back in Myra, the party's ended, hasn't it? Yes, yes. You know how we know it's ended? They put the chairs up on the table and asked you to go home. Yes, yes. They took the hint and went home. And when they arrived at home, they looked around for their son Lou. They called out his name, Lou. Psst, Lou. Call out your son's name, Lou. Lou. Lou, where are you, Lou? They couldn't find him anywhere. They asked their friends and neighbors. Nobody could find Lou. Oh, they knew something terrible must have occurred. Oh, they began to cry. Psst, psst. They began to cry. Yes, yes, oh. Then Lou's mother, she got angry. She stomped her feet on the ground. She shook her fists in the air. And she said, I don't believe in St. Nicholas. I believe he's a fraud. For if he truly were the protector of children, he would have protected my son Lou. So therefore we will never celebrate the Feast of St. Nicholas ever again in this house. A whole year goes by. Lou is still a slave to the king. And when the Feast of St. Nicholas comes to Myra, the entire town celebrates, except for Lou's parents. A whole nother year of Lou being a slave. And a whole other year, they insist on not celebrating, thinking I am a fraud. When townspeople come to them and say, please, please, this is Myra. You're making us look bad. You should celebrate. Just have some people over for dinner. Please, yes? Yes, good, 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 good. They agree. And that year, they sit down to have a small dinner with friends on the Feast of St. Nicholas when they hear a sound outside the door. Being a good husband, you say, stay there, dear. I'll protect you. Oh, very good, stay. And he races out the door. And here's who he sees. Lou! Yes! Oh, goodness, you've grown, sir. Come, Mother, look who's here. It's your son, Lou! They rejoice and they celebrate. Mother takes the sewing out of the room, puts the mattress back, yes, all things of that nature. And then they say, Lou, what happened to you? And he said it was like this. A couple of years ago, while you were celebrating the Feast of St. Nicholas, I was stolen by pirates, taken to the island of Crete. When I arrived there, I became the cupbearer to the king. Just moments ago, I was serving him a goblet when I felt a tug at the back of my neck. I was lifted up off the ground, out of the kingdom, across the land, and over the sea. I was flying through the air and fearing for my life when I felt an arm around my shoulder. And I looked to my side and saw St. Nicholas. And he said, fear not, Lou, I'm taking you home. And he brought me safely here to the courtyard. I turned to thank him, and he was gone. Lou's mother rejoiced, and she screamed out, I was wrong. There is a St. Nicholas. Please forgive me, for you are the protector of children and giver of gifts. You protected my son Lou when he was stolen from me those years ago. And then you gave him to me as a gift of life that I thought I would never see again. We will celebrate the Feast of St. Nicholas greater than anywhere else in the world. Isn't that right, Mrs. Lou? Yes. Oh, come over here, Your Majesty. Stand right next to Lou, and all four of you take a bow. Give them a round of applause. Wait right here. My dear friends, what you have just witnessed is what's called a mummer's play. In parts of Europe, on the Feast of St. Nicholas, they do this. People in town recreate stories from my life to entertain their friends and neighbors. They are called mummers, and they do this for entertainment and a treat. The candy makers used to give a treat to the children of a peppermint stick. But I shall give them something better. I shall give them a candy cane. Ladies first, for you, my dear. Yeah, you are welcome, and for you, sir. Yes, and for you, Lou. Yes. And for you, Your Majesty. One more round of applause for my helpers. Take a bow. You can return to your seats. Yes. What a wonderful treat, the candy cane. As I told you before, it used to be a reward of a peppermint stick. But on the Feast of St. Nicholas, candy makers came up with a magnificent notion. Bend the end and make it a cane. More specifically, it would represent a staff. The bishop's staff, the staff that I would carry as Bishop of Myra, to signify I was the shepherd of my flock. I would have this candy cane, but in my time it would be a real cane. It was called a crozier. I would also wear a nice pointed hat called a mitre. This would symbolize to people that I was the bishop of their flock. So the candy cane became a very important symbol of my feast day. Oh, but I see doubting eyes out there. You are saying, St. Nicholas, the candy cane, we think of this as Christmas time, not the Feast of St. Nicholas. So true, so true. After all, who do we celebrate on Christmas Day? Who? The birth of Jesus Christ. And who was I promising to honor in all ways? Jesus Christ. So when people wanted to take my symbol and put it as part of the Christmas celebration, it was an honor to be associated so greatly with Christmas. And that, my dear friends, is why I myself am so closely associated with the Christmas season, not just on the feast of St. Nicholas. Very well done, my dear. Yes, indeed. Oh, you are learning many things about me, Bishop Nicholas of Myra. You have learned the symbolism of my life when the candy cane brought over to the Christmas celebration. Are you aware that I am known by many different names? Yes, I shall tell you but a few. St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Weihnachtsmann, Père Noel, Grandfather Frost, and the Snow Maiden, Father Christmas, as you see me here today. Yes, and I have many helpers as well. Oh, and we are so fortunate, for you see, some of those helpers are here in the audience as we speak. Oh, yes, indeed, yes. My dear, can you come up there? Yes. And you as well, my dear. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And let me see. Yes. You, my dear. Yes. Yes, let me see. Yes, yes. You, my dear, as well. Very good, very good. My dear friends, I must tell you, in many parts of the world, I, St. Nicholas, will come into town, escorted by lovely angels. Yes, they will carry a list of names of all the children of the town. They will either be on the good list or the bad list, the naughty list. The angels will tell me who is who, and I shall reward the good and warn the bad. Isn't that right, angels? Yes, give my helpers a nice round of applause. Very good, my dear. Candy kissing, there you go. You may go back to your seats. Yes, I have other helpers as well. Oh, yes, I have lovely angels. Yes, and then, of course, I have, others. Very, very important helpers indeed. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, but way back here. No, sir, you, yes. You volunteered, I'm assuming, your sister there. Yeah. Right up there. Mm-hmm. Oh, will you help me out? Yes, all the way up front there, all the way up front there. You young lady, right there in the middle. Yes, yes. Yes. Oh, spectacular indeed. Spectacular. Oh, right in the middle. Come right in the middle. Come right in the middle. Yes. In some parts of the world, I will travel into town on a beautiful stone white horse called a schimmel. As Bishop Nicholas, I will reward the children with nuts and candies and oranges, escorted by this lovely beast of burden. But in some areas, it is more difficult to traverse the terrain, so I will not come in on the back of a horse. I will come in on the back of a donkey. Yes. And if a horse won't do, and a donkey won't do, there's always another reliable beast. I shall come into town on an old goat. But each one of these helpers helps me dearly, so I should reward them as well. Do you not think so? Yes, for you. Yes, oh yes, a round of applause. Yes, let me see here. So few boys are raising their hands, and I know why. Oh, you will do it. Yes. Come forward, sir. Come forward. Yes, yes. And you, sir, as well. And you as well. And in the very back row. Yes, yes. Oh, these are magnificent helpers. I'm sure none of you have ever seen any of these helpers, and I will tell you why. They are known in parts of Europe, in the Bavarian states mostly. Now they go by many different names. These are but a few. Come to the middle, gentlemen, come to the middle. They have many different names, but they always have the same thing. They're black from head to toe, covered in soot, beard and mustache, pointed hat, and they have in their hand switches from the linder tree. Those are sticks. They are known by many names. Some of those names are Neck Ruprecht, Pesnikel, Hans Muff, and Schmutze. Makes no difference what helper it is. They come with me into the towns, you see, and they will call out to the houses. Are there any bad children in there? And if the parents say yes, then Pesnikel, Neck Ruprecht, Hans Muff, or Schmutze will go into the house, through the door, down the chimney, and give those parents one of those switches from the linder tree so they can spank the badness out of those naughty children. Yes, oh, you better give them a round of applause. Take a bow, gentlemen, take a bow. Wait right there. Yes, for each of you. Very good indeed. Very good indeed. You may return to your seats. I'm not going to let you spank any of the children right now, no. Oh, children. Children. There is but another helper, I dare almost not even say his name. There is. Right there. You sir, no, right next to you. He turns his head. Yes, come forth, man. Fear not, fear not. I must tell you of this creature. My dear children, I pray you have never seen this hideous thing. He comes with me into the towns of children who have so misbehaved, a spanking doesn't even work on them. Some report that he is green from head to toe, red from head to toe, covered in fur, pointed ears, horns upon his head, a long tail, cloven hoofs, and a tongue like a serpent that splits out like a snake at the end. I hold him with one of the strongest chains in all the universe. His name, Krampus. Oh, my dear children, Krampus comes to the worst of the worst children. I bring him as a warning to those who misbehave, because Krampus has one desire, and one desire only, and that is to break loose of my chains, grab that nasty child, throw him in a bag, take him out to the Black Forest, and gobble up their evil soul to make him all that more of a mean individual. Fear not. Krampus has never broken free from those chains these many thousands of years. But there's always a first time. Yes. Should I give Krampus a treat? Krampus, I heard some no's over here. I have the names and addresses, and I will open up the chains tonight. You can visit them at your leisure. Yes, give him a reward. Yes, a wonderful reward. Oh, wonderful. Right there, young lady. You are too. Yes, yes, yes. And you, yes. Very good. Oh, my dear children, this is a magnificent story. I'm so glad we have volunteers here for this story. Yes, you stay right there, you three. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, let me see. Oh. You, sir. Ha, ha, ha. Come forward. My dear children, this is the story of these three wonderful theologians. Isn't that right? They were studying theology, my dear friends. They were in France, and they were on their way to school, and they got hungry. So they stopped at a most magnificent shop where a butcher makes the best sandwiches in all the world. And it is this wonderful man here, Père Frotard. Isn't that right, Frotard?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. These wonderful students came and asked Frotard to make them a sandwich, and he did just that. He took out his cleaver and chopped them into 1,000,000 pieces. Took those pieces and threw them in a pickle barrel. Only moments later did I, Père Noël, come before Frotard, and I said to him, Frotard, I feel as though there's been a mortal sin committed right here. Have you committed a sin? No. Oh, forgive me. I'm getting old, you see, and adult-minded. Perhaps I made a mistake. Yes, yes. So you didn't commit a mortal sin? No. Well, it must be someone else on this block. Yes. I am getting old, yeah. Are you positive? Because I felt the sin was committed right here on this present location. No, none whatsoever. Dear, forgive me, Frotard. Will you please? Oh, you are a wonderful man. You are a wonderful man. Look, I must be on my way to find this sinner. But if you wouldn't mind, I'm a little hungry. Just like a pickle from the pickle barrel. And I turned to the pickle barrel, and I opened it up. And do you know what came out? All 3 students, healthy and whole, alive and well once again. And I turned to Frotard and said, Sir, did you think you could get away with this sin? You shall be punished, man. You will spend all eternity traveling with me throughout France and see the smiles on the faces of the children as I reward them for being good. Yes. What a wonderful story, is it not? Yes. You were magnificent not to disembowel. Yes, you know, not a word. Yes. You children, you were so good. I believe that you were chopped up into 1,000 pieces. You did a wonderful job. I must give you all a treat. Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, they were spectacular, those 3 children. Yes, yes, indeed. Oh, for you, my dear. Yes, yes. And for you. Yes. Oh, you're welcome. And for you as well. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Come closer, man. What was your punishment again?
To travel with you throughout all of France?
Yes. And see smiles on children's faces, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes. That doesn't sound like much of a punishment, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, it actually sounds like a rather nice thing, eh? Oh, I forgot to tell you part of the story. Yes, yes. I am getting older. Yes, yes. Yes. Every smile Frotard saw upon a child's face caused a wrinkle to appear on his. Over these several thousand years, he has so many wrinkles on his face, he looks more like a giant prune than anything else. Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, most children in France believe Frotard is the boogeyman. He's so scary looking. No! Oh! Well, but he does deserve a reward because he is a warning to children to not sin, or you may end up looking like this. No one wants to look like this. Yes, give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, my dear children, hands down, hands down, hands down. I must tell you, yes, you're probably wondering why I am dressed like this today here as Father Christmas. It is another part of the world which I travel to. And you see, as Bishop Nicholas, I always want people to be comfortable. And so if they want me to look like they look and wear things they wear, that's what I do. That's why I'm known by many names. That's why I dress so many different ways. I always have the same message. Do good deeds, expect nothing in return. But when they see me as Father Christmas, there is much to be told of what I'm wearing. For you see, I came to those in the Celtic Isles and in parts of Germany that believed in tree worship. They felt that trees were far more important because they would survive in the dead of winter. They honored the trees by praying to them. Literally, the evergreen tree was what they thought the most important of all spirits, only to be topped by the mistletoe, which literally bloomed in the dead of winter. My dear friends, I wanted to convert them to Christianity. So I came to them in flowing robes, and I took the symbols of their religion and placed them upon my body. The mistletoe upon my robe, the wreath in my hair was a symbol of their religion. On the longest night of the year, they would sacrifice to the tree gods by chopping down a tree and burning its life source, the trunk or the log. It was the Yule celebration, and it was the burning of the Yule log. I didn't want them to destroy life. I wanted them to worship life and to light the world with the light of lights. So I took their Yule log celebration and their tree worship and brought it into our celebrations of the birth of Christ, the Son of Man, the light of lights. And instead of destroying that tree by burning it in sacrifice, we now decorate that tree as a Christmas tree celebration. And we honor that tree, and it has become a symbol of the birthday of Christ himself. As a matter of fact, my dear friends, that is why I, St. Nicholas, am so closely associated with that day. For I give a gift to the birth of the Christ child to every child out there, because each and every one of us is Jesus himself. Well, now, I told you about myself in Europe, but I must tell you how I got to America. It was the Dutch that helped me. Yes, they called me Santa Claus and believed I was a small elfin man who smoked a pipe. Well, they wanted to come to the New World of America, and to do that, they took a ship across the Atlantic Ocean. I was the patron saint of sailors, so therefore they prayed to me and promised to build a church in my honor if they arrived safely. My dear friends, they arrived and set out to build a town. They wanted to find a perfect place for this town, so they gave the job to a Dutchman by the name of Diedrich Knickerbocker. Diedrich Knickerbocker went out into the woods and fell asleep. He awoke, however, when he heard the sound of sleigh bells, and he looked up to see a sled coming across the treetops, pulled by reindeer. At the helm of that sled was I, Santa Claus. I landed in a clearing, came up to him and said, Diedrich Knickerbocker, why are you sleeping instead of finding New Amsterdam? And he said, St. Nicholas, it's such a tremendous job, I thought I should get some rest before I went on my long journey. Oh, Knickerbocker, I shall help you out. I gave him instructions. I told him I would take a puff off of my pipe, I would blow the smoke into the air, and where it landed on the ground, he was to claim it for the Dutch and call it New Amsterdam. If he did this, this would become the greatest town in all the New World. Knickerbocker followed my instructions to the T, and when that smoke settled, he claimed it for the Dutch and called it New Amsterdam. The first building they built was a church in honor of me, St. Nicholas. Many people came to New Amsterdam. It became the most popular town in all the New World. So many people came from other nations that some tried to take it over, and one did, the British. They took the town over and changed the name from New Amsterdam to New York City, the greatest town in all the New World. The oldest church in New York City, the cathedral, to me, St. Nicholas. Within the boroughs proper, there are some 7 to 9 different churches in my honor. I am the patron saint of New York. The British know a good thing when they see it. However, they couldn't speak Dutch, and every time they tried to say Santa Claus, it came out Santa Claus! One and the same, make no difference the name, as long as you follow my instructions to do good deeds, expect nothing in return. Well, so many New Yorkers loved me that one even wrote a poem about me called A Visit from St. Nicholas. He read it to his friends and neighbors and his children on Christmas Eve. They loved it so dearly that one of them anonymously put it in the Albany newspaper, and it became an annual tradition. A Visit from St. Nicholas, one of the most popular of all poems and stories. Its name has changed over the years. You may know it by that name, or you may know it by the first line of that poem. 'Twas the night before Christmas. This inspired a cartoonist to start drawing pictures based on that poem. So more and more people began to see my image. Now, if you have not seen one of those cartoons, if you have not listened to A Visit from St. Nicholas, if you weren't a sailor who prayed to me, I had another trick up my sleeve. And back in the 1930s, I made an agreement with a large corporation to be their sponsor or spokesman at the Christmas time. That's why every year you see me, Santa Claus, with a bottle of Coke. Well, you see, my dear friends, there is nowhere in the world where you can't find a Coke. Yes. But I must tell you, my time here grows short. And I've explained how I've made it around the world. And if you've been very keen observers, you might have noticed that many of my stories come in threes. 3 students, 3 daughters. There are more stories like the 3 condemned innocents, the 3 generals, all 3s. Why so many 3s in my stories? I shall tell you. As Bishop Nicholas of Myra, I had a great responsibility a long time ago. Emperor Constantine called an ecumenical council of all the Christian bishops to a small town to discuss how to interpret the holy readings themselves. One of those things we discussed was the Holy Trinity. God the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Three as one. Many bishops believe God the Father must be superior to a Son and a Ghost. I, on the other hand, believed all three were equal. God the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Three as one. I was so enraged with one bishop that I literally took my hand and slapped him on the face. This is forbidden, to strike a bishop, even another bishop. As a matter of fact, Emperor Constantine said, anyone who strikes a bishop shall be thrown in jail. So I was stripped of my priestly robes. I lost my hat and my staff and was tossed into jail. I was no longer Bishop of Myra. The next morning, the jailer came to me to give me breakfast, and there I was in the middle of my cell. My priestly robes were upon my back, my staff in my hand, my mitred hat upon my head, and the Holy Bible in my arm. And the people said, how did you get these things back? And I told them, Jesus and Mary brought these to me in the night so you would understand the true interpretation of the Holy Trinity. And then I was made a bishop again. I went back to the council in Nicene, and I helped them write a profession of faith called the Nicene Creed. And that, my dear friends, is why so often my stories come in threes, because I thought it was one of the most important things for us to understand. God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And speaking of ghosts, I see many of you staring back here behind me. And you're wondering why on earth there would be a witch upon my backdrop here. You can understand me as Santa Claus, as Santa Claus, the Elfin Man, as Father Christmas, Weihnachtsmann, Bishop Nicholas, a young Bishop Nicholas over there. You can even understand why I have neck Ruprecht and Krampus over my shoulder. But why? Why this witch? Let me tell you why, my dear friends. My celebration is at the beginning of the Advent season. Many will celebrate it coming up this weekend, December 6th. On the eve of my celebration, many will put out shoes by their bedside, hoping to get a little treat from me, St. Nicholas. They do that because they insist that when I saved those girls from slavery, the money landed in the girls' shoes, guaranteeing that the father would know who the money was for. So they recreate that by putting out a shoe on my feast day. Others insist that that money didn't land in shoes, it landed in stockings drying by the fireplace. That is why so many people put up stockings at Christmas time, hoping for treats from me, St. Nicholas. I help prepare you for the Advent season, getting you excited about the coming of Jesus himself. We have our wreath right here. We've just started lighting it. And as the season goes on, we celebrate many feasts and many saints. And that witch ends the Advent season for us. She's known in Europe by many names. Babushka and La Befania, two of the most prevalent. She arrives not at Christmas, not on my feast day, but at the end of the season, on January 6th, Little Christmas or the Epiphany. She arrives in parts of Europe and gives children nice little presents, small toys to reward them for being good. She ends the Christmas season that day. And this is why. La Befania was around at the time of the birth of Christ, and she was visited by the wise men. They asked her to come with to see the birth of the Christ the King. And she said, "Be gone, I'm too busy cleaning my house, get out of here." So they left. Shortly after that, she realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So therefore, she chased after them, but could never find them. She was so sad, and we felt so sorry for her. We granted her all eternity. And now she visits the day the Magi visited the birth of Christ. They arrived at the stable not when Jesus was born, but on January 6th, when he was lying in a stable in a manger. She arrives on that very day. My dear friends, if you count from December 25th to January 6th, you will find that that is exactly 12 days. Those are the 12 days of Christmas. From the birth of Christ until he is visited by the Magi in La Befania, the woman who ends the Christmas season that I helped begin. And therefore I must have her on my backdrop because it's a wonderful way to end the season with La Befania. But before I bid you farewell, I must ask you one dear favor. Do you remember that story of the man with the 3 daughters? Do you remember how I asked him to do good deeds and expect nothing in return? That's all I ask of each and every one of you. Be like Jesus. Do good for others. That's the magic of the Christmas season after all. We are so much kinder at this time of year, and it makes me so happy. But if you really want to make me happy, don't stop at the end of Christmas. Do these good deeds all year through. Do that, and I will be extremely happy. And if I'm extremely happy, we all know what happens then. Yes, lots of presents, yes! Oh, my dear friends, my time is growing short here. I see it is almost time for us all to leave. So I want to wish you all a very wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas to all! Yes, yes. Thank you. Now, I have to let you in on a little secret. Mothers and fathers, I love getting my picture taken, but only with smiling faces. So if perchance anyone wants to get a picture with me, I will gladly stand here for all eternity, and unlike our dear friend back there, not one wrinkle will occur on my face. So if you have a camera and you'd like to get a picture with me, feel free to form an orderly line, and I will smile along with you. All right? Thank you very much, Father, for inviting me here today. Thank you so much. Well, how are you all? Yes, indeed.